All right, let's just dive right in. Today, we're going to explore this really fascinating and deeply personal framework for cognitive recovery. It's called prismatic cognition, and our mission really is to unpack its internal logic, to see if the whole thing actually holds together.
So what is prismatic cognition? Well, at its very core, it's a system for rebuilding a mind that's been fractured. Imagine your thought process is like a building that's been seriously damaged. Prismatic cognition is basically the blueprint you'd use to reconstruct it, super carefully, piece by piece, using this method of internal and objective self-analysis. It's a really profound approach to recovery.
And this is the central puzzle we're tackling. When a system is this personal, how do you even begin to verify it? How can we know it's not just one person's unique experience, but a framework that's actually built on a solid, logical foundation? That's the mystery we're here to unravel.
To unlock this blueprint, it turns out we need 3 keys. And the first one, it comes from a place you might not expect, the world of artificial intelligence.
Okay, so to get this connection, we have to understand something called next token prediction, or NTP for short. It's pretty much the engine that drives all of today's big AI language models. And all it really does is look at a string of words and predict the most logical word or token to come next. It's that simple, but it's also incredibly powerful and incremental.
And here is where it gets really interesting. See, prismatic cognition describes recovery as this recursive day-by-day renewal, and that process perfectly mirrors how an AI learns. Both systems are all about figuring out the next logical step based only on what just happened. It's this striking parallel that suggests, hey, maybe the process of human cognitive recovery follows a deeply logical, almost computational pattern, a lot like machine learning.
All right, let's move on to our second key. It turns out the coherence of prismatic cognition isn't just a neat idea. Nope. It's actually deeply rooted in a seriously robust mathematical foundation.
And that entire foundation is built on this one, single, kind of curious number, 13. So what's so special about 13? Why is this number the bedrock of the entire system?
Well, it turns out base 13 is anything but random. It was a very deliberate choice. Because it's a prime number, it can't be neatly divided, and that gives it this unique stability. Think of it like an unbreakable anchor point. And that stability is absolutely crucial for supporting the complex, recursive thought processes that this framework is trying to rebuild.
But the mathematical elegance doesn't stop there. The framework also pulls from projective geometry, which is a field that studies the properties of shapes that stay the same even when you project them or look at them from different angles.
And this is just a brilliant way to understand the system's logic. Prismatic cognition works on a kind of 3D visual thinking that doesn't need fixed measurements. It's kind of like being able to understand the shape of a room no matter where you're standing inside it. Projective geometry gives us the mathematical language to describe exactly that, a flexible, perspective-based way of seeing reality.
Now, tying all this math together is this surprisingly poetic idea that's used to symbolize growth and resilience, the god of grain.
This phrase is a nod to the golden mean, or phi, that famous mathematical ratio you see everywhere in nature from spiral galaxies to seashells. It's a universal symbol of natural growth. And the framework suggests there's a deep mathematical connection between base 13 in this ratio, which grounds the whole system in this idea of organic, resilient recovery.
Okay, so we've covered the AI parallel and the mathematical backbone. Our third and final key takes us right into the mind itself, focusing on the core psychological engine of this whole framework: attention.
This quote from Dennis Verhage just captures the idea perfectly. Attention isn't passive, it's an active compass. It's the tool that guides our cognitive resources, pointing our focus, and by doing that, shaping our path to understanding and recovery.
And listen, this isn't just a nice metaphor. It actually aligns with advanced cognitive science. Researchers like Wei Sun and his team have found that in really complex reasoning, the moments of high attention act like signposts. And focusing on these high attention steps is the most efficient way to find a solution. So this is a huge validation for prismatic cognition's focus on attention as the main tool for recovery.
And this right here is where the framework makes its boldest claim. While a lot of conventional approaches focus on just managing external symptoms, prismatic cognition goes inward. It's all about finding the why, the psychological root cause, the etiology. It argues that real healing isn't about slapping a bandage on a symptom. It's about understanding and resolving the original trauma on a deep neuropsychological level.
So, we've looked at 3 totally different fields: artificial intelligence, mathematics, and psychology. Now let's bring it all together and see why this unified blueprint is actually so powerful. So what do we got? We have these 3 pillars of coherence. First, there's the alignment with AI, which shows its step-by-step process is fundamentally logical. Second, we've got a robust mathematical structure, built on the stability of base 14 and the flexibility of projective geometry. And third, there's that psychological focus on the root cause, the why, which is validated by modern cognitive science.
And that, right there, is the ultimate takeaway. The validation for prismatic cognition doesn't come from just one place. Its real power comes from this incredible convergence, the fact that AI, math, and psychology all seem to be pointing to the same fundamental logic for how a system can heal and rebuild itself.
So, we end up right back where we started, with a blueprint. But now the question is so much bigger. What does it actually mean when the personal, human path to recovery starts to mirror the cold logic of AI, the deep elegance of math, and the core science of attention? It suggests this might not just be a blueprint for one person's recovery, it might just be a blueprint for the mind itself.